And we're going to get started with me talking about what I just did last week, which is kind of a wild thing. Over the summer, SpaceX reached out to Kristen Carter. SpaceX, the company that builds rocket ships, reached out to me, Kristen Carter, and asked me to come and speak to their accessibility network, which is their disability inclusion group. And I was like, excuse me, what? Obviously, yes, I would love to. One of their employees had actually been in my focused ADHD coaching program over a year ago and listened to the podcast, was a fan of a podcast, and recommended that I come and speak at SpaceX. I'm still I can't even get the words out without freaking out, because I'm a person who looks at innovative companies like this as something that is just something to be celebrated. And I'm very, very excited about that, especially having somebody who is neurodivergent leading such an innovative company, I think is really amazing. And so to be invited to speak to a bunch of people who are so smart, aerospace engineers, coders, I don't know. I don't even know the right words because it's so far outside of the realm of what I do in my day-to-day life, but so many smart, intelligent, really actually very young people working there. It was just such an honor to be asked. And so my son, my middle guy, has been interested in aerospace engineering for the last couple years. And so when I responded and was like, absolutely, I would love to come. And also, could I bring my son? And they were like, yeah, bring him. No problem. So last week, the second week of January, my middle guy and I traveled to Southern California. It was so beautiful. We stayed in Manhattan Beach. It was gorgeous. And I spoke at SpaceX and was able to talk about ADHD in such an incredible environment. It was so wonderful. I got an awesome tour of just one section of the facility. It was, let me say that the employees are hype. They were so excited to be there. They were so excited to give me a tour. They were so proud of the innovative work that they do, which they absolutely should be. They work on rockets. They work on satellites. They're working to make space flight something that just any human can do. Just sign up, pay some money, and go into outer space. What? It's just wild, the things that they're working on. And so to be able to be in that environment and just be able to participate just for a couple hours in what they were doing. They actually had a launch that day. So we were in Hawthorne, California, which is where Mission Control was. And when I think of Mission Control, I am so sorry to be so old, but all I can think about is Apollo 13, the movie that I watched in the 90s 700 times. And Mission Control is a big deal for Apollo 13. All of you elder millennials are going to be yeah, we get it. And all of you young folks are going to be Kristen, you're so embarrassing. And I admit that I'm so embarrassing, but that's what I was thinking about the whole time. Houston, we have a problem. Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, Mission Control was at the Hawthorne campus, and then they were launching from a place in Texas. And so what I was able to do was see Mission Control, and everybody was gathering to make sure the launch went off successfully. And it was just an incredible environment to be in. I was able to see rockets that were being worked on to be shipped out. They create about one a week, but they're trying to launch one every 2 days. So they're trying to figure out how to make production faster. I just know all the information because I was there. It was so cool. But what I realized was that speaking in such a neat environment and being able to talk about ADHD and to be able to discuss ADHD in a place where let's be honest, a lot of people that work at SpaceX are likely neurodivergent. It was so much fun. I didn't do it perfectly. There are some things that I wish I would have done differently. I had to work really hard on not judging myself too harshly and not, just being really perfectionistic. And obviously, we've talked about perfectionism a ton here on the podcast. And if you feel like you struggle with perfectionism, I do have a free course. We'll put the link right here for you, wherever. We'll put the link there for you. But I do have a free course on perfectionism because people with ADHD struggle so intensely with perfectionism. And that is actually research-based. So research has found that perfectionism is the most common thought distortion of adults with ADHD. And let me tell you that I was suffering from my own perfectionism about my talk at SpaceX, thinking of all of the things that I could have done differently and should have done differently, and et cetera, as we do. But I was able to just ground myself in like, no, you really did a good job. I followed my notes. I was engaging. I was funny. I did everything that I wanted to do. And like, yeah, it wasn't perfect because I'm a human, because this was my first time in this type of environment, because I was doing something new for the first time. So of course it wasn't perfect, but I'm really satisfied with it. I'm so honored that I was asked. I can't believe that me, the person that was like watching daytime TV for hours a day, completely under functioning, completely unemployable, completely unable to really just like to function and to live my life the way I wanted to. Now to get to a point where I'm being invited to speak at SpaceX to their accessibility network and be able to encourage neurodivergent folks and give them tips and a guide for how to survive in a workplace when you are a neurodivergent person, and how to work with someone else who has ADHD, maybe a coworker who has ADHD. It was such an honor. And I want to encourage all of you that where you are right now is not where you will always be. There is potential for change. There is potential for growth. You do not have to stay the same. If you feel like me 15 years ago, where you're just like under functioning, under lifing, not reaching your potential, feeling like, is this just this is just my life? Like, this is just what it's going to be forever. Just know that your brain can change. You can make improvements with, at least if you're like me, with an accurate diagnosis, with treatment, with therapy, with understanding your brain, with being able to do just even a tiny bit, like dabbling in the work of self-development and creating room for healthy relationships in your life, you can change. And like, I know this is so cliche, but I just want to encourage you that like the sky is the limit. And when I say the sky, I mean like outer space, right? If we're talking about SpaceX, like to be able to be the person who's invited to speak about ADHD at SpaceX, what the hell? That's wild to me. But what it shows me is that being unemployable and living below the poverty line and having ADHD and knowing that you're not reaching your potential and wasting your time numbing out. At the time, it was watching daytime TV because like social media wasn't a thing, but literally I would watch Live with Regis and Kelly, and then the Tony Danza show, and then The View, and then the news. And then I would be like, it's 12:30. I guess I should like do something with my life. And it was just like so under functioning. To go from that to be able to influence in such an innovative environment is a contrast that I would have never expected. And I just want to encourage you that things can change. Things can change for you. And I want to like throw some courage on you and empower you to make some changes, whatever that is today. Do you need to pursue a diagnosis? Do you need to pursue medical treatment? Do you need to actually take the medication that you have, but you're forgetting to take? Do you need to do some personal development work? Even if that is just watching free videos on YouTube and journaling in a journal. Like, it doesn't have to be expensive, but I encourage you I encourage you to go for it. I encourage you to make some forward movement because your brain is willing to change from the cradle to the grave. That's what neuroplasticity, that's what the science behind neuroplasticity tells us, is that the brain is willing and able to change. And if we just give it, some nudge, if we just allow the brain to be a little bit uncomfortable, if we pursue this self-development work in any capacity, whether that's with me and my program, somebody else's program, or completely free, like you're just watching free videos on YouTube and you're journaling and you're trying to do things absolutely on the cheap, which I highly recommend, your brain will change. It will. I promise you. Test it. Test this theory. Try it out. Come back to me if I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong. Okay. Okay. Anyway, if you are listening to this and thinking like, oh, it'd be so cool if Kristen could come to my work and talk about ADHD in the environment that I'm in or at my university or something like that, that's something that I'm actually very interested in doing. Now, I am writing a book and I need to make sure that I stay focused, but if you work at a company like SpaceX, reach out to your girl. I would love to come talk to your company or a segment of your company about ADHD. I would love to come to your university and talk to professors or students or both about ADHD. I've said it over and over. My mission is to help as many people with ADHD as possible. Obviously, I have this podcast. Obviously, I have the Focus ADHD coaching program, but if I can get the word out about ADHD in any capacity, I want to do it. So contact my team, focused@ihaveadhd.com. They will get in touch with me. And if you're like, yeah, that sounds awesome, come speak to my company or to my university about ADHD, I would love it.